Like to welcome everybody out to the Money Mastery Matrix, all the fancy names we're going to use, but at the end of the day, it's just business hacking. So what we're really talking about today is the business behind the business. So years and years ago, when we went broke our first time, so by age 26, we had made over $1 million in the whole dot-com, dot-bomb. Business partners and I were taking a company public. Our shares had gone, and we had a net worth of over $1 million. Then when we lost everything, something happened. I started questioning my ability to be an entrepreneur. I questioned my identity. And during that time, it was very depressing. It was very, very hard for me. But what happened was we started getting into real estate. And this is why I have such a love for Renatus and real estate. And during that time, my wife was processing loans. And we had to get the point software. And at that time, it was $900. And to me, it might as well have been $1 million. We had to put it on a credit card. It was just excruciating. It was so painful to just put that money on a credit card because we had nothing. We lost everything. We went from a 4,200 square foot home with a home theater on a private green belt in a private community down to my parents' basement. It was a 10-foot by 12-foot room. I remember we had a little 6-month-old child, and my oldest son Hunter at that time was only 6 months, and we'd have to shake off the dust and the sawdust on his blankets in his crib every night before we put him in bed. We had to put basically my office, our bedroom, and his crib all into one small 10-foot by 12-foot room. And during that time, my wife started processing mortgages. And I was the gopher boy because I was unemployed. And I would go and take these checks to the broker after closing. And I noticed these checks were $5,000, $7,000, $10,000. And I asked my wife, I said, why is he making so much money when I saw you do the title work? I saw you do the appraisal. I saw you order the credit report. You spoke with the client. What did he do? I said, oh, it's very simple. He's the broker. He got the loan, originated the loan, I did the work, and he gets 1 to 2% of the loan. And instantly in my mind, I thought, well, that doesn't seem right at all. You do the work, he's a broker. I mean, is that how we're going to make money? Is that all we have to do? And she said, yeah, that's it. If you can go originate loans, we can make that kind of money. Now, mind you, I'd been used to making a ton of money, lost everything, and I was money hungry. I was very materialistic. I did not want to be in my parents' basement. Back then, you could simply go down to the city hall, sign up for a mortgage broker, and have a license, and boom, you are a mortgage broker. So that's exactly what I did. In the first month, we made $7,500, and then 17 or 15 grand, and then had a low month of 10 grand, and then we were making $50,000 to $75,000 a month consistently. We took that mortgage company across 7 states, all the West Coast. We ended up moving to California. That's where I met Richard and Kendall, and that's how I got into Renatus. So that's when I learned the business behind the business. So my wife could have kept processing mortgages, making $3 to $4 grand a month, and we could have survived. But when you know the business behind the business, you thrive. You make a ton of money. So Michael Jackson, I know some of you have shared these stories before, but I think they're important, and it's proof behind knowing what works and what does not work. So Michael Jackson, years and years ago, was visiting Paul McCartney, and they were going to do a song together called Say, Say, Say. And that song ended up going #1. But over dinner, McCartney pulled out a black binder with some songs in it and said, look, these are the songs I own. And Michael's flipping through this book. He said, wait a minute, that's Buddy Holly. You don't own Buddy Holly. He goes, no, but I own the publishing rights to Buddy Holly's songs. He said, what do you mean? You can buy those? Michael has been in the industry since he was a kid, but no one ever taught him the business behind the business. So when he got back to LA, he met with his attorney and his mastermind group, said, wait a minute, you guys, I've learned something new, completely something new. We've got to master this. I want to know everything about songs. I want to know everything about rights. Who can own them? So over the next 2 or 3 years, he started buying more and more songs. And then the Beatles catalog, 250 of their songs that they didn't own because when they were early in the industry, they didn't know the business behind the business. And they signed away some of their most popular songs, went for sale. So Michael thought, man, I'm in. I'm buying all of them. So he outbid Yoko Ono, who was John Lennon's wife. He outbid Paul McCartney and a couple other investors. He ended up buying the Beatles catalog for $47 million. So in essence, he's the 5th Beatle. Well, that started him on this rampage to buy more songs. By the time of his death, he had merged with Sony, and so his company was called ATV. Now Sony ATV owns over 2 million songs. 2 million songs. It does $2 billion a year in revenue. His great-great-great-great-grandchildren will always have more than enough money, simply because he knew the business behind the business. Another musician who mastered that as well was Toby Keith. He's in the country genre. For a long time, he was putting out a record per year. And finally, his record label said, you know what, we don't really care about this record. You know, we don't want anything to do with it. He's like, oh, then let me buy it. Let me buy the rights to my own record for $97,000. He then flipped it to DreamWorks and sold it for $200,000. And then he started his own record label, who ended up signing Taylor Swift, Rascal Flatts, you name it, he signed them. But then he also went and started building bars and grills because he had a very popular song called I Love This Bar and Grill. He then owned the bar and grill. He then owned the music talent because he had this record label. Each bar and grill has a stage. He then started his own apparel company so that when you're at the bar and grill, you can buy his apparel. He then started getting into a liquor so that when you're at his bar and grill, buying his clothing, listening to his bands, you are going to get drunk on his alcohol. And he threw a restaurant in there as well. So his net worth now is in the hundreds of millions of dollars simply because he learned the business behind the business. So that's what I want to walk you guys through today. What is the BBB? It's threefold. It's ownership, originality, and influence. So I've been working on this for about 2.5 years, trying to really hone down what is the BBB. And it may expand past these threefold, but what I know now from all of my research, it definitely falls into these three categories. So what does Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Maroon 5, Tiger Woods, George Lucas have to do with your business? It's all about ownership. Thanks to the success of American Graffiti, Lucas was entitled to a salary of $500,000 for directing what would be called Star Wars. Instead of accepting the nearly 300% pay increase, George went to Fox with a proposition. He offered to keep his salary at $150,000 in exchange for two seemingly insignificant requests, that he retain all the merchandising rights and that he would retain the rights to any sequel. Now nowadays, no one's going to touch that offer, but you got to go back to the 70s. Merchandising wasn't really a big thing at that time, and sequels really weren't that popular. I mean, you had Jaws and you had E.T., but you didn't have a lot of sequels after those things. You know, Jaws, yeah, had 2 and 3, but in that moment, it was a very long time before sequels became popular. So by him owning the rights to the movie and the rights to the merchandising, he was able to then sell that a couple of decades later to Disney for billions of dollars. If he did not have that ownership, he would not have made that kind of money. And that is key because right now there's this huge push online with people call it free to fee, where you give away all this free content for free in hopes that somewhere down the road you can charge them. Nothing wrong with that model, as long as you're the one who always owns the content. So I own all the content of all my own books. I made one mistake one time. The book called Your Emotional Fingerprint. I got a big 6-figure deal. It was fantastic. You know, got translated into 11 languages, sold around the world. But on that book, I make $1.25 per book. They want to take away my movie rights. They want to take away my publishing rights. They want to take away TV rights, everything. Only thing that I was fortunate is I had already made my own movie. I had already had infomercials on TV. I had already had coaching clients, so they couldn't get those rights from me. But if you are an author and you're going out and you're getting your own publishing deal, you will lose absolutely everything. They made me change phrasing, key words that I use, because whoever has ownership rules the land. Nowadays, people, when they sign up contracts, they take away everything you have. So you have to look at and say, okay, how do I own it? So with Money Matrix, I own all those videos. So now I have over 300 videos. I have 300 scripts. I can turn those 300 scripts into a book. I could take those videos and license them to other companies, which I currently do. You can leverage all of your own materials to make as much money as you want to make. Let's look at the income and the ownership of Star Wars. Harrison Ford made $10,000, basically $1,000 per week with no royalties. Mark Hamill, who is Luke Skywalker, he made $650,000 plus 0.025% of the movie total profits. Carrie Fisher, who is Princess Leia, made less than Hamill, though she's never disclosed how much she's made, and she also made 0.025%. But Alec Guinness, who is a British actor who is Obi-Wan Kenobi, his attorney said, you know what? No. If this thing's going to be successful, then we want 2.25%. Because of that ownership in that movie, his family and his posterity, because he's since passed, has made over $75 million. So Harrison Ford is Han Solo, like he's the coolest guy, right? He only made 10 grand. Alec Guinness made $75 million. and it goes into perpetuity. His family will continue to make money. So as Disney builds the Star Wars land, which they're currently doing in Anaheim, as they make their additional movies, people will still want to see the originals. TV shows, you name it, his family will make millions and millions of dollars a year, all because of ownership. Look at Michael Jordan. In his basketball career, he went 15 seasons, one of the most decorated players in the game. He made $90 million. Last year alone, just in 1 year, he made $100 million from Nike because he had ownership in the Air Jordan brand. He hasn't picked up a ball professionally in 18 years. So how do you make $100 million? Ownership. This is part of the business behind the business. Jimmy Iovine and is also the co-founder of Beats with Dr. Dre. Beats ended up selling to Apple in 2014 for $3 billion. At the time of the deal, which included $2.6 billion in cash, I mean, that's a lot of cash. Usually these deals are all stock. That's a lot of cash to pay out, plus $400 million in stock. Both of them own 25%. They both took home $750 million simply in ownership of a headphone company. If you don't know who Jimmy Iovine is the one who discovered Eminem. He relaunched Dr. Dre. I mean, he's done everything from, gosh, the Rolling Stones back in the 60s and 70s to U2. He helped him with the Rattle and Hum CD. I mean, this guy has been in the music industry forever. So yeah, he's been successful. But it wasn't until he had ownership that his wealth really took off. So you can make good money, but ownership is key. So you look at real estate. You can buy and flip homes all day long, and that's great money, and you'll get by, and you'll make, some pops here and there. But if you can own those homes, pay them off, the rentals that you will get on that property over the long haul makes you very, very wealthy. So before we go into originality, let's ask some questions. Let's start the mastermind here. What do you own in Renatus? Now I want you to think about that. You actually own more than you realize. Go ahead and text me, what do you own? Text me at 951-973-3408. 951-973-3408. Let's look at what you guys actually own. Go ahead and text me now. Once again, guys, everyone's got to participate. A mastermind is of no value if people do not participate. And I know a lot of these may be the same, and you may think, oh, someone's already going to write that. Still participate. So this is an action sport. You own your IMA license agreement. You own your education. You own your own business. You own the ability to build a team, your dream, access to the referral business. This is phenomenal. Look at what you guys own. Yep, a lot of these are repeating. Own my own education and my business. When I travel across the country, and I've coached a lot of different people, people will start to complain and will say, well, gosh, I don't really own anything. My IMA or my guy above me is destroying my business. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You own your own company. There's no greater shortcut to wealth than owning your own company. So you own the right to sell the education. Absolutely. Thank you guys for participating. I'm getting a lot more back in. The business, the brand, the education, the resources. Providing the same way for my family. Ritas taught me how to own 14 rentals. Congratulations. Your domain names, your relationships. That is fantastic. A TV show, education for life that will benefit generations. Look at what you guys own. If you want to know the business behind the business, figure out what you own and then leverage what you own. Resell what you own. So Iovine and Dre, they sold Beats not just to Apple, but they sold them to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, which created their value to a higher level, and then they sold the whole company to Apple. So fantastic, guys. Good job. Accessing ongoing leverage. Yep. Opportunities to create value for others. License to access. Many intangible assets as well, and tangible ones. Fantastic. All right, we're going to go on to originality. If you guys have ever been on YouTube and have seen the Maroon 5 video Sugar, it has 1.4 billion views. 1.4. I mean, you're talking about 1 in 5 people in the world, or 1 in, 4 people in the world have seen this video. That's amazing. So I started researching the business behind the business and what is originality. Doesn't mean you have to be the first one. For example, iTunes was not the first, music provider online. And you had, oh gosh, what was it? A Napster? You had other things, but they were original. That originality of how you could buy a song for, and think about it. I mean, how hard would it have been to launch iTunes? Back then, people were downloading songs illegally. Nobody cared. Then they said, well, why don't you buy a single song? Nobody in history had ever done that, especially digitally. Yeah, you could go to the record store and you could buy your little 45 singles, but no one ever sold a single song individually at 99 cents before that I'm aware of. So that originality was amazing. Now here's what I noticed, and I'm going to show you a bunch of slides on this. You look at the imitators right after Maroon 5. The Rock does a wedding. It's got 5.7 million views. Yeah, that's great, but that's nothing compared to 1.4 billion. You've got Usher, who goes out there and he performs as a gold painter, performer, dancing. He only has 260,000 views. Once again, nothing. These guys are world-renowned, major celebrities. They're copying this celebrity in the open space format. You've got Kevin Hart and Gad, who ended up doing a bunch of dancing, different things, showing up at different venues. They only got 363,000 views. You got Channing Tatum, who ended up performing, and he's got 700,000 views. Not a lot of views. So what have you done with originality in your business? And this is where I really want some participation, because if you guys can share what you did that was original, that was unique, that stood out. Think back to your last Extreme Plus combo. Maybe it was something you said. Maybe it was a gift that you gave. What is something you've done that was original and unique that launched your business? Go ahead and text me in, 951-973-3408. 951-973-3408. Think about what you've done that was original. So one time I used to own a juggling company. This is about 20 years ago. We used to sell juggling sticks. So the center baton, 2 hand sticks, you flip it back and forth and you juggle. You see them a lot of the Grateful Dead shows and so forth. So I want to get attention of this retailer, and I couldn't get him to return my phone call or anything. So I went in and I took a pair of the juggling sticks that he sold. I broke them over my knee, gave them to the cashier and said, hey, here's my cell number. Have the owner call me if he wants me to pay for these and if he wants a better set of juggling sticks. And I walked out of the store. And that was it. I thought either I'm going to get arrested or something's going to happen, or the police are going to stop me and say, you got to pay for those. You stole them. You broke them. But I thought, well, let's see if he'll call me. Now, I don't recommend doing that. There's a lot of things I've done in business I don't recommend. But he called me the next day, and for the next 3 years, he bought my juggling sticks that were unbreakable. So that was a huge way to go. All right, I got a couple good ideas coming in. Designed my own drop cards. Good job. Paid for regional training. Let's see here. This one said, not original, but perhaps rare. I give sincerity. I do think that's kind of original. A lot of people don't do that anymore. Bartered for a house. Designed my own logo. Invited Scott and Nancy to speak for the first time out of Chicago. Good job. Gift baskets for an investor family. Love gift baskets. That was a fantastic thing to do. Converted our warehouse into a conference room. That's creative. See, look at you guys are coming up with these brilliant ideas, and I know I say this every time, but this is why I love masterminds. I can't give you all the ideas. You can't think of them all on your own, but as people share, incredible ideas come together. A 2x4 breaks at 437 pounds of pressure. 2 2x4s nailed together break at 1877, a 4.5 time multiple. So as you guys share ideas, you guys are only increasing your ability to have a stronger business. See, look at some other ones. Acquiring space to have meetings for my community. Perfect. All right, let's look on the third one, influence. So I looked at the research on athletes who make money on their influence versus their income. So Kobe Bryant, his endorsements, he earns $26 million a year. His earnings are $23 million a year. Cristiano Ronaldo, soccer player, one of the most famous soccer players in the world, he makes $27 million, but $56 million from his earnings. I'm sorry, from his endorsements. You've got the cricket player, he's making $27 million in endorsements, $4 million in earnings. Tennis player, he makes $28 million in endorsements and $4 million in earnings. Then you go down to number 2. This is one cracking me up. Tiger Woods. He made $600,000 last year in golf and made $50 million in his endorsements. And Roger Federer, he made $58 million in endorsements and $9 million in income. Why does somebody make so much more money than the sport they're being paid for? Simple. It's influence. When you have a sense of influence, when you have an ability to influence other people, you are compensated for that. You look at music companies like Spotify, even Tesla, these companies right now, Instagram. Instagram was bought for $1 billion from Facebook and it wasn't even profitable. Why? It had an influence. You look at WhatsApp. For those of us who are in Punta Cana, in fact, all of us on this call are in Punta Cana, otherwise you wouldn't be on the call. A lot of us use WhatsApp there. That got bought by Facebook for $19 billion. They were not a profitable company, but they had 350 million users when they were purchased. So people buy influence. And if I can be blunt, look at Scott and Nancy. I was talking with Scott last weekend, and I'll share this number because Bob shared it publicly from stage. They'll make $750,000 this year, and their personal production is a fraction of that. Why? Influence. That shouldn't make you unhappy. That should make you encouraged. That as long as you continue to have more influence, the more money you will make. So here are some business hacks. Actually, you know what? Before I go into business hacks, let's go to Q&A. Let's do some more masterminding. What can you do and share with us what you have done to increase your influence? This will be a perfect question for the mastermind group. What can you do and what have you done to increase your influence? After that, we'll go to the business hacking, and then we'll end on that. Great. Go ahead, text me in. These are coming in. Fantastic. I appreciate it. Speaking from stage, offering to help other people achieve what they want. Who was it, Zig Ziglar, who said that help enough people get what they want and you will get what you want? Speak at local real estate clubs. Help non-team members. That's a huge one. Stay focused. Real estate group meetings. Speak in front of the room. Speak at events. Help others. Provide consistent content and value. Become an expert at something new. Help others learn. Get in front of other audiences and be the expert. Partner with successful teams. Be inclusional. When it comes to influence, I'll have to be honest, the number one thing I have seen that has helped me get the influence that I've been able to work with and deal with and be in front of successful people, it's solving other people's problems. I had the opportunity 18 months ago to be in front of Will Smith and his entire family and 22 of the most powerful people in Hollywood, simply because I was helping another company pitch an idea. I've had the opportunity to work with the United Nations. I've got testimonials from Jack Canfield and Les Brown, video testimonials, all because I helped them solve problems. When you solve other people's problems, in essence, you're putting deposits into their bank account, their emotional bank account. After you've done that, you can take withdrawals. We were at the Utah Regional last weekend, and we had Garrett Gunderson who was speaking. We had Ron Williams speaking. Those are two friends that I know from another company that I built called Business M.O.N.E.Y, where it was all about influences and influential people coming together, masterminding once a month, doing high-octane activities. If you want to see any of those videos, go to YouTube, type in Business M.O.N.E.Y. That's N as in Nancy, O as in Octopus, S as in Sam, Business M.O.N.E.Y, and you'll see some of the videos that we did, and they were all about influencing each other, but we solved each other's problems on a daily basis, so fantastic. Be available for all members of the Renatus community, partner with successful teams, continue working with this opportunity when others said I should quit, do surveys. Fantastic, guys. All right, let's go into some hacks. We'll end on the hacks. I was looking today on, let's find some money hacks. So I went through some of my researches, my books, things that I've rely on to find, and I thought, let's try money hacks since we're talking about business. So when you're influencing behavior, what number to use? One Cornell study looked at several common restaurant price display techniques. They use numerical ones with dollar signs, so you have the dollar sign and the number 12. Numerical ones without dollar signs, so you just have the number 12. And then what if they just spell out 12? So they use their letters and they spelled it out. The researchers expected that the written prices would perform best, but they found that the guests with the simple numeric prices spent significantly more than the other two groups did. And I've noticed this when I've gone to nice restaurants, they won't have the number sign and they will not have it spelled out. They'll just have the simple number, 9, 12, 55, 99. So I've actually started doing that in my price sheets at times. I've done it in other negotiations, and there's something weird about it. If you get rid of the dollar sign and you just go with a number, it seems smaller to people. It doesn't seem like it's going to cost. Now, the research also said that the dollar sign inspired selfish desires. So if you wanted to get people to be selfish, and this may apply, this is the takeaway, this may apply to Renatus, this may apply to selling a property, where if you add the dollar sign in front of the number, people are drawn into this selfish, what's in it for me? So if you're looking at the education, then yeah, that could benefit me. Or if you're looking at buying an expensive car, that's a selfish desire, put the dollar sign in front of it. So I want you to experiment with this one. You can have a lot of fun. Try different things when you're selling stuff on Craigslist or wherever you're selling small items. Do garage sales. Try it in a variety of ways to test it for yourself. Influence. Price equals perceived value. Researchers at Stanford University and Caltech demonstrated that people's brains experience more pleasure when they think they are drinking a $45 wine instead of a $5 bottle, even when in reality it's the same cheap stuff. So they use the exact same wine, they put different prices on it, and then they put them under a CAT scan and an MRI, and they watch the activity in their brain, and they notice that if they thought they were if they were drinking something expensive, the pleasure side of their brain would increase larger, they had greater value, and now this makes complete sense. We look at things that people, you look at a Ferrari, you look at all these expensive cars, people value them more simply because they're expensive. I've got two teenage boys who are 16 and 13, so they're all into cars right now, and I mean, every night, Dad, what's the most expensive car in the world? What's this? And I finally turned to them just the other day, I said, what's the most trustworthy car? I'm like, trustworthy? I said, yeah. Let's say you buy an expensive car, and then you got to maintain it. What car do you want to buy that you can manage and take care of? Number one was a Toyota. The worst car, and they weren't using Lamborghinis and Ferrari, they didn't fit the parameter, but the research I found was the number one worst car, top two cars to own, BMW and Mercedes. Maintenance over a 10-year time is about 17 grand for the BMW and 15 grand for the Mercedes. I was looking at the new the Maserati Gran Turismo, beautiful, beautiful car, until I realized to replace the clutch and tires were $9,700, basically 10 grand. I'm thinking, I don't care how much I make, I'm not going to take in maintenance and getting a $10,000 bill. So it wasn't worth it. So when you look at the value of things, the more expensive, we have more of a value to it. Now this is good for you. So with Renatus, you can say, hey, you can buy the affiliate for $30, or you can buy this for $100. But if you want the education, the lifetime membership, and you really pad in all the benefits, that $20,000 price point actually will trigger things in their brain that says, I got to have that. That's more valuable. Even though they could still sell at a lower price point, they're going to want that Extreme Plus combo. Another study showed that 85% of subjects given a placebo pill for pain relief reported a reduction in pain when they were told that the pill cost $2.50 a dose. When they were told that the pill only cost 10 cents, only 61% of subjects reported a pain reduction. There were no active ingredients in this pill. It was a placebo effect. It was a sugar pill. There was nothing in it. But the more expensive they thought the pill cost, the more they said their pain went away. Influence. Round numbers, lower perceived value. University of Florida marketing professor Chris Jenzwinski and Dan Uwe tested how people react to pricing in an auction environment by giving groups of buyers three different numbers: 4,998, the round 5,000, or 5,012. While for practical purposes, these prices may be essentially identical, when the researchers asked the buyers to estimate the wholesale price of the item, the buyer group with the $5 price estimate estimated a much lower number. Not only did the $5,000 group move farther away from the anchor price, but they also tended to estimate the wholesale price as a round number. So they think, oh, well, the wholesale price is probably $2,000 or $3,000. Now, I actually saw this happen with JCPenney. So years ago in 2008 and 9, the creative director for Apple left to run JCPenney. They did a whole rebrand. They did their logo different, and they got rid of all the $9.97, and they went strictly $10, $15. Their sales plummeted by 35%. He got away from what everybody in retail knows, the $9.97 is better than $10. People, I don't know why it is, it's our psyche, whatever it is. If it is an odd number, we believe it has more value. If it's a round number, we think, I don't really want to pay for that. And so they don't, which is just a weird psyche. But that's why I love this type of stuff, because if you guys can hack your order forms, your conversations, everything that you do, you will absolutely make more money. Another study looked at the price of houses and found that sellers who listed their homes at odd prices, such as $494,500, sold at a price closer to their asking price than houses priced at even numbers like $500,000. Oddly, the even price houses lost more value as they aged on the market. Odd prices make you more money. So as you look at your business, make sure that you are taking it and changing it and doing unique things. Use these business hacks. Go back and listen to these recordings. Watch these PowerPoints. These tools are here to help you guys succeed. I appreciate your time. I love you. Thank you. Let's play again next Tuesday, same time. Have a fantastic day.